My mother-in-law slapped me and my sister-in-law spat on me, but the moment the door opened, the person who stepped in made their faces go pale. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I am 26 years old and I live in the city of Baltimore, Maryland. This is my story. The slap was louder than I ever thought possible. My husband's mother's hand hit my face with a sharp crack, leaving my cheek burning and my pride bleeding before I could even understand the embarrassment. My husband's sister leaned forward with a sneer and spit at my feet, her eyes burning with hate. I stood frozen, not because I was weak, but because I had promised myself I would not cause problems in my husband's family. I had told myself 1,000 times that patience, kindness, and silence would win them over. But in that moment, as I stood there shaking with my cheeks hot with shame, I realized no amount of silence would change their hearts. They wanted to see me broken. My husband's mother's voice sliced through the air. You are nothing, do you understand? My son deserves better than you. Someone who can bring pride to this family, not shame. Shame? That word had been thrown at me since the day I married into this family. I was not from their wealthy social circle. My parents were simple, hard-working people, and for my husband's family that was enough to see me as worthless. My husband's sister laughed coldly. Look at her standing there like a lost puppy. Pathetic. You think we will ever accept you? You will never be one of us. Her words hurt, but they were not new. What was new was the sound that followed the slow, deliberate creak of the front door opening. Light from the hallway poured in and the entire room shifted. My husband's mother's face grew pale, her hand dropping to her side. My husband's sister stiffened, her mockery frozen. Because standing in the doorway, tall and unmovable, was the man they both feared the most, my father. They had never met him properly. They knew of him, yes. They knew he was a quiet man, a retired army officer, respected in our community and feared when provoked. But they had underestimated him. They had assumed his silence was weakness. Now his eyes burned like steel as he stepped into the room. What, he said, his voice calm but filled with authority. Did you just do to my daughter? The silence was unbearable. My husband's mother stammered, we were only what? His gaze was steady. Only raising your hand against her, only spitting on her. In my house, even my enemies' daughters were treated with respect. And here in your home, you disrespect yourselves by hurting your own son's wife. I had never seen them so terrified. My father did not need to shout. His presence alone was enough to strip them of their arrogance. My husband, who was upstairs, rushed down at the noise. He stopped cold when he saw my tear-filled face and the red mark on my cheek. His eyes darted to his mother and sister, then to my father, and finally to me. What happened? He whispered, but the truth was written all over the room. They hit her, my father said simply, and you allowed it. That cut deeper than any slap. My husband's face fell with guilt. No, I did not know. You chose not to see. My father interrupted, his voice low but firm. A man's first duty is to protect his wife. If he cannot do that, he has no right to call himself a husband. Tears filled my eyes because these were the words I had been too afraid to say. For so long I had hoped my husband would defend me, but he never did. He always said they will come around. Just give them time. That time had now run out. My husband's mother tried to regain her composure and snapped, You have no right to lecture us in our house. But my father's reply was like thunder. When you laid hands on my daughter, you gave me every right. The silence after that was suffocating. My husband's sister muttered something under her breath, but she would not even meet his eyes. My husband's mother looked away, her face breaking under the weight of his words, and then my father turned to me. His tone softened in a way that almost broke me completely. Daughter, he said, you do not have to live like this. You have a home where you are loved, respected, and cherished. You can walk out with me right now. My husband's face went white. He reached for me desperately. Please do not go. I will fix this. I promise I will stand by you this time. Just do not leave me. I searched his eyes, looking for honesty for the man I once believed in. But the silence of the past years was heavier than his sudden promise. My father held out his hand, patient and firm. In that moment, I made a choice. I stepped forward, not to leave my marriage, but to get back my dignity. I looked at my husband directly. If you mean those words, then prove it. Right here, right now. Stand up to them. Not later. Not someday now. My husband trembled. His mother hissed, do not you dare. His sister shook her head. But my husband stood up straight, his shoulders shaking but determined. He turned to his mother and sister. "If you ever touch her again," he said, his voice breaking but strong, "you will lose me forever. She is my wife. She deserves your respect. And if you cannot give it, then we will not be a part of your lives." The room filled with gasps. My husband's mother's face twisted with anger. My husband's sister stormed away, but I saw it the change. For the first time, my husband chose me. My father gave a small nod, satisfied. He did not need to say more. He had already won. Tat Day was not the end of the problems. My in-laws did not change overnight, but the power they once had over me was broken, because now they knew there was a line they could never cross again. And more importantly, so did I. I realized that silence is not strength when it costs you your self-respect. I learned that sometimes the people we love need to be pushed to stand up for us. And I discovered that behind me, I had a father who would walk through any door at any time to remind me that I was never alone. So if you ask me what the turning point was, it was not the slap. It was not the spit. It was the moment the door opened and light poured in, carrying the strength I had forgotten I had all along, because their worst nightmare was not my father. It was the truth that I was no longer afraid of them. This was today's story from Home Exposed. If you felt the pain, hit subscribe, because tomorrow's truth might hurt even more.